FACEIT has aimed at Toxicity with their newly developed admin AI, Minerva. FACEIT has revealed that during the initial trial period, Minerva slew 20,000 accounts, and FACEIT say they're only just getting started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another industry report. You know the crack. Slam that bell, keep the algorithm happy, and let's get into the content. So, Toxicity, it is a challenge faced by many companies who have large games, particularly so in the competitive context, and as somebody who's been playing LoL a bit more, yeah, it's quite the thing. So, FACEIT are a company that are mainstays in the eSports industry, overseeing leagues and games such as CSGO, League of Legends, Rocket League, and Dota 2. Now, they have been pretty open in their long-held desire to combat in-game abuses such as toxic chat, as well as things like account boosting and smurfing. Now, FACEIT think that their current systems have done a decent job, but, well, their next, rather headline-grabbing initiative is quite a bit larger indeed. It's a pretty clear sign of where we're going as an industry, so I do think it's something we need to talk about from a real, strong, ideas-based perspective. So, FACEIT's blog post outlines their drive to build Minerva, which is their new admin AI. Now, Minerva is an automated system that's designed to identify toxicity and to implement appropriate punishments without the need for manual intervention from a person. Now, it works at scale. It issues warnings for abusive messages while filtering out anything that is flagged as spam. And in terms of handling repeat offenders, well, Minerva's punishments, of course, get more and more severe for every time that a player commits the same offense within a short period of time. So, that's basically the theory, but how is it actually working in practice? Well, Minerva version 0.1 is actually live, and for the application's first iteration, they decided to focus on text chat in CSGO. So, during the couple of months that comprised the initial trial period, Minerva analyzed over 200 million CSGO chat messages. It found 7 million to be toxic, leading to 90k warnings and 20k bans. That's a lot of supposed justice, but I think, as always with an automated system, we do need to treat elements of it with skepticism. The real test really is this a exploitable system over time? I mean, many things that involve player reports and things like that, they do often run into issues. Now, of course, punishment's only one side of things. FACEIT's blog actually gives us a bit of an insight into how Minerva has been affecting the content of messages sent in-game. So, this is kind of interesting. From August to September 2019, the number of toxic messages dropped from 2.28 million to 1.82 million. That's about a 20% decrease. Moreover, the number of unique players sending toxic messages also decreased during the same reporting period. And I really do think the numbers are kind of impressive. So, following Minerva's introduction, the number of players engaging in toxic chat actually dropped approximately from 232k to 228k. That's an 8% decrease. And you've got to remember, that's only over a few months, so I wonder what that would be like, say, tracked across a year. Anyway, FACEIT also introduced the requirement for banned or flagged accounts to verify their phone numbers before being able to play. Now, there's a few issues that I'd have with that, but basically it's intended to bolster the effectiveness of punishments, and it seems to have seen some success. So, FACEIT's update revealed that over the past 2 months, more than 250k accounts were actually required to verify their contact information, and of those accounts, 50k illegit accounts were blocked before being able to access the game. Now, the team outlined that this experiment is only the first and most simplistic version of the sorts of things that Minerva can do, and that they're going to be working hard to roll out more features in the future. They said their overall goal is, quote, to finally detect and address all kinds of abusive behaviors in real time. And, I've got to admit, some of that sounds like it could be a good, beneficial system, but if it was taken too far, to be honest with you, I think that knowing that the bots are watching, I think it could have a chilling effect on discourse. And really, I just say that, banter is a gray area. One person's banter is not another person's banter, and I'd worry that too much automated oversight would actually sort of hurt some of the texture in gaming. Now, that said, they do try to allay those concerns. They say their priority throughout their testing period was to minimize false positives. So for this, it went through months of training before being able to make independent decisions without a human, intervening. Now, here's the thing, while game rules should be enforced, false positives, things like that, they are a major risk. We recently had, now this was a manual reporting system, but the situation with the World of Warcraft guild called the Gay Boys. One, surprisingly enough, enough, ran by the titular gay boys who didn't have a problem with their guild name, but had their guild name banned through masses of in-game reports. That's kind of the problem you're always going to deal with here, and Minerva pretty much just say that, yeah, over time they'll be able to make the right call, and that it's a better system because it's automated and it doesn't rely on masses of abusable human reports and then a human review that could take up to 36 hours. And I do see how there are some benefits there, but again, it's like what sort of inherent biases will be baked into that training data, and how will it actually pan out in real life? Because some of this stuff, as a computer science problem, it seems solvable, but I think we all know that systems like this, well, they often do have a harder time once they actually come out and are met with reality. I mean, an ideal example of further complications, well, that just comes from memes, right? And how the meaning of words, certain words and phrases, that can shift, in an instant on the internet. Now, FACEIT have recognized that if you just simply monitor predefined keywords, that you'd always be a step behind. So the clear goal with Minerva is to have a self-adapting, self-learning system, one that can be a bit more preventative. Now, again, it's certainly interesting in an ideal world from a computer science perspective as a fun problem to solve. If it understands gaming culture and it can differentiate to problem behavior, it could be very useful. I mean, studios like Riot and Blizzard, they have came under fire for things like having sweeping bans in certain chat terms, or, automated guild name changes, or the censoring of images from eSports. A more intelligent solution could avoid those problems and find the actual sort of, real bad faith behavior, but we don't live in a perfect world. Just look at how YouTube's rushed out content ID system, and, the demonetization had a very high failure rate at the beginning. So with Minerva, I mean, I would say that at least it's tackling a more straightforward problem, especially if you're dealing with, say, simple things like, say, text sentiment analysis, but still, there are landmines here. Now, that said, we've got to face the facts here. I think solutions like Minerva are going to be a thing that are going to be influential in gaming going forward, so I think we do need to take a really broad look at all of that stuff and a deep look as well. I mean, AI systems, right, they will learn based on their data set. Now, this could lead to the manipulation of specific terms, that could lead you to false positives. Also, like with any system, it could be open to abuse, and its own little sort of weird quirks could emerge. Now, that said, it's probably less abusable than dumb reporting systems, but I mean, still, Minerva would need to be able to tell if reports are, for example, coming from salty teammates after somebody just made a bad play in a MOBA. In that case, it would probably have to reject those reports, but, even doing that is tricky. I mean, in a MOBA, feeding on purpose is BM, but it's hard to tell if it's just feeding or a mistake. So overall, I can understand the fears of moderation that many people would have with something like this. But that said, toxic player bases, I mean, they can ruin a community. I mean, just look at Overwatch if you want a positive, happy, cuddly game with an often vile community. I mean, based on the release order of heroes, Blizzard artists are being called every ist and ism in the book. Real dumb stuff like that. I mean, aggro player bases can be a large financial problem for companies because they do drive away customers. So given that this is a scale problem for those companies, a scale solution is needed, so a machine learning approach is probably the one they're going to go with. Now, for all the flack that YouTube's content ID system gets from frustrated creators, I mean, it is the case that there simply is too much content for human analysts to go through. And being real, is that a job we'd actually want people to have? I mean, I don't envy the outsourced Facebook moderation teams who've got to look at dogs getting killed, people getting beaten, and even beheadings on a near daily basis. I think that overall a computer science first approach, it probably is the one to go for here, not, just a brute force throw people at the problem one. But ultimately, I mean, gaming culture consists of so many different subcultures, each one with their own norms and rules, and just applying a big AI on top of all of it, I mean, that seems like it could really have issues. Now, that said, it's also true that, just think about, say, when a bad actor ruins a game for you, right? Losing 30 minutes of your precious time because someone's just a complete cock or they're using an aimbot. I mean, even if it's just them having a heated gamer moment, I mean, if they can be caught for doing that, yeah, ban them, throw them in the bin. They're more trouble than they're worth. But overall, I think what I've tried to highlight in this video is that toxicity, breaking the rules, using bots, things like that, even, to some degrees maybe smurfing, I guess, FACEIT seem to think that's a really major problem. I mean, those are really serious issues. They do ruin people's free time, right? They are a big problem for these companies. Obviously, there are so many people playing games that you can't have human moderators for every single thing that happens. And that pretty much does mean that you need some sort of systemic solution. Now, would you rather that be a really dumb one, or would you rather it's one that's maybe a little bit more smart? I think it's pretty obvious that the computer science first approach, right, the machine learning one, probably is the right one to go with, but there's also a whole bunch of, downsides that do come with that. So really, it's that sort of thing where, do you want a gaming culture that is, just the Wild West? Do you want something that's very heavily regulated? Or I suppose, do you want it to be more like the Wild West with just a little bit of, regulation on top, just to keep the crazier outliers, from things? And maybe with, say, private servers and things like that, just being a complete Wild West. I think that more middle ground solution is the right one to go for. But to be honest, I would be a little bit too worried that, if I think about what Blizzard can be like, I'd be a bit worried that they go a little bit too far with a system like this, and that they'd really just have that chilling effect that I described earlier in this video. So, this is clearly a major thing that's going to happen over, say, the coming decade. I would love to know what direction you think it should go in. Let me know down below. Thank you very much for watching this video, and with that, I'll see you next time.